The battle over health care and the push to throw out the Affordable Care Act goes down in flames again. Today we're talking with Indiana Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman and whether he believes the health care fight will lead to a government shutdown. Plus, the congressman weighs in on the debate over same-sex marriage and what he believes Indiana should do next. It's all coming up on this edition of Indianapolis This Week.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Good morning, I'm Rafael Sanchez. The Republican-controlled House has voted nearly 40 times to repeal or scale back the Affordable Care Act. And so far, they're 0 for 40. The health care reform law has seen a bumpy road over the last few months, but it's also seen some positive results. One major headline in July, the delay of a key provision of the Health Care Act. The Obama administration postponed the requirement that employers with 50 or more full-time workers provide insurance coverage. There are also some positive signs. The total costs for healthcare services are only expected to rise 6% over the next year. Now, that may sound bad, but that's lower than what we've seen in recent years and much lower than the double-digit spikes we saw in the early 2000s. Joining us now is Congressman Marlin Stutzman, who represents Indiana's 3rd District. Congressman Stutzman took office after being elected in 2010 and previously served in the House of Representatives and the Indiana Senate between 2002 and 2010. Congressman, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's talk about the issue of the Affordable Health Care Act. We're looking at the first deadline, October the 3rd, when presumably people around the country will begin to be able to sign up for this program. You're against it.
Well, there's a lot of challenges with the law and with the implementation of the law as this administration tries to roll this out. I hear from a lot of people as I talk to folks across Northeast Indiana, the 3rd Congressional District, of what's going on. And that's where I take my cues, is from them. Fort Wayne Community Schools, largest school corporation in the state, actually cut hours for 610 employees. Because of the cost of health care to those employees. And so now there's an economy of part-time employment that's being created. And people are very frustrated with that because here they thought what was going to happen with the health care law was that every American would have access to insurance. But instead, now they're in a part-time situation where they have to put 2 jobs together and still potentially don't have health insurance. So that's a huge problem that we're going to have to figure out a solution out to. Premiums are going up. We're seeing people that are being kicked off of insurance programs. The exchanges are not created yet, so this law is not ready. And so that's why I am saying let's stop. Let's not continue to allow Americans and Hoosiers to be affected with these consequences right now until we get this right, until it's right. And a lot of us disagree with the concept and the direction of it, and so let's have a conversation and how can we, unwind, stop, redirect, whatever it takes to get our healthcare system fixed right.
Let's break that down because your party attempted to defund it.
Yeah.
And that failed. And now there's talk of possibly a government shutdown. Are we going to have, well, first of all, are you going to be able to defund it? And then my follow-up question is, will we see a government shutdown?
Well, government shutdown is not the objective here at all. That's not the aim whatsoever. What the aim is to fix our healthcare system. And what Republicans are saying is we have ideas, we have solutions that we feel would fit here. Let's have that conversation. But the president is fully committed to the healthcare law, understand. But defunding it means let's not move forward right now, because even the president is saying that parts of it aren't ready. So delaying the business mandate, but not delaying the individual mandate. So why? Why would we delay one side of it, but we're not going to delay the other side of it? The 1099 law, which was repealed by Congress, there was agreement between both sides that that was not a good part of the legislation that passed. There's other rules and other programs that HHS is just not moving forward on because of economics, because of the cost, because of the policy. So I think that you know, Democrats also need to come to the table and say, you know what, we didn't get this right exactly the first time either, so where can we find ways to fix health care?
What would you keep? If you could walk into the halls of Congress today and say, here's the Stutzman plan.
Yeah.
What parts of that law would you keep and which parts would you throw out?
Yeah, I think the part that allows for young people to stay on parents' health insurance plans, I think that makes sense. In fact, a lot of folks that I've talked to said, you know, why weren't we doing that before? You know, we don't know. Pre-existing conditions, I think we have to address those and allow for those with pre-existing conditions to get insurance. That's important. Now, the other thing is you know, just like here in the state of Indiana, we have the Healthy Indiana program, which has worked fabulously for folks who have had difficulty getting onto an insurance program, where we do allow for people that are in difficult situations to get insurance through a state program. I think that's fully understandable. It makes sense. And then let's let the marketplace, let the insurance industries, just like they do in the automotive industry, in the automotive insurance industry, compete with one another. I mean, you know, they are out there trying to get our business, but we've created these boundaries around the insurance companies where they have the only access to the marketplace, and so that keeps consumers from having choices.
The one thing you would throw out, the one thing that right now you cannot live with.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's the mandate that, you know, Americans have to buy insurance, have to buy a product. If we are going to step on that position, I think then what other position can we force Americans to do? And I think you look at the Constitution, and the Constitution guarantees freedoms, rights, liberties, and for government to say you have to do this is something that I struggle with greatly.
Another hot topic is the U.S. Supreme Court made a ruling on same-sex marriage. In the State House, which you were a member of the State House at one point, they're going to continue to look at a possible amendment to the Constitution. Should that continue, or should the state lawmakers say, the Supreme Court has ruled, let's move on?
Yeah, I do think that the Supreme Court ruled, but they did not rule and say that the states cannot deal with the issue itself. And so I do believe that we should move forward. Let's let the people decide. And on this issue, that has been an issue of contention around the country. There's differences of opinion. Obviously, Massachusetts and Iowa and Washington, other states have allowed for gay marriage. But I don't think that it's right, for example, a state like California, that in the same ballot elected President Barack Obama, but also voted for a constitutional amendment to their constitution that they would not allow for same-sex marriage, for that to be overturned by an elected official out of that state. And so I think we need to let the people speak on this issue.
And you've been talking to your constituents. Do you think Hoosiers will say no or yes to this issue, as you've been talking to your constituents?
I believe Hoosiers will support traditional marriage. That's one of the character traits that I see across our state, is that we believe in the importance of marriage between a man and a woman. But I think we also we respect people's choices, but at the same time there has to be marriage has to be held to a high standard for our families to be sure that there is a safe place for our children. Is a place for that position, which I believe is also a religious institution, and that we should guard it as that, as it was originally founded by.
Only 20 seconds left on immigration. Will you vote for immigration reform, or will the president have to wait to the next election cycle?
We need immigration reform. Our immigration process, our system is broken. We need to fix it. We need to make a way for people to come into this country that can help our economy grow, and we're also going to have to find a long path forward to citizenship for those who are here illegally.
And final question, you visited Afghanistan, and I'm just pushing them all in there too. You visited Afghanistan in 2011. We're going to see a drawdown here soon. Is that working?
That's good. I think that's a good thing. We're not going to fix the Middle East, as we see all the other problems with Egypt and Syria. We're not going to fix those parts of the world entirely. We just have to, push the terrorists back and protect our country from any sort of terrorist activity.
Should we cut off aid to Egypt, or it's a $1.3 billion? What should we do with that money? money?
Well, we need to know who's in charge and where that money is going. And I think that it's important that we make sure that Israel, our friend, knows that we are standing with them. But at the same time, if the Muslim Brotherhood is gaining ground in Syria or in Egypt and has ulterior motives for that, then I think that's when we have to reevaluate.
Congressman Marlin Stutzman, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Will you
Thank
come
you.
back?
Appreciate it. I would love to.
We thank you for joining us on Indianapolis This Week.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Same-sex marriage in Indiana. Our political insiders weigh in on that and the mayor's proposed budget to the city council. Welcome back. Joining us now are two of our political insiders, Jennifer Hollowell and Laura Beck. Let's talk about the mayor's budget. Is it responsible or irresponsible?
It's very responsible because it addresses a lot of the problems that our city faces. It adds more police officers. It funds things like infrastructure that we need to, and it doesn't raise income taxes. So I think it's a very responsible budget, and it's also a way to reach across the aisle and work with Democrats to make progress on issues that we all care about.
Do you agree?
Well, I think that budget time is a process, and anyone who's ever worked in city government knows it is a process. And part of what happens is the mayor introduces his budget, the council works on what their priorities are, they find a way to come together. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. There is an opportunity for public input, and I think citizens should know that there is. They can watch them on city government TV, they can tune in on the indy.gov website, and there's a way to definitely make input. So I think that they will be able to work together to get something done. But again, it's all about where the money comes from and how we get it.
Well, let's talk about the money. One way that the mayor is hoping to bring in the extra police is to sort of expand the taxing district outside of the city limits out into the county. Are the folks out in the county going to say, yep, come on, tax me? Or are they going to say, well, maybe I really don't want that police officer? I mean, are folks going to say, yes, we need those officers to walk our streets?
Well, the proposal really makes a lot of sense because IMPD now covers the whole county.
Right, but are those folks going to want to be taxed?
But the folks who were in the old IMP district have been paying that police fee for many years.
Right.
And when the coverage was expanded, the fee wasn't expanded. So it actually will go down for all the people who were in the old IMPD district, and then it'll be new for the others. I think that it's a reasonable expense and one that people will want, especially in light of the fact that, you know, according to Laura, they want more police officers, but they want, you know, public safety. And so it's a small price to pay for that. And a number of Democrats have already come out in support of that, which I think is a good sign. There are other proposals, like the homestead tax credit, that have been put out there by the mayor, which is a great way to help fund more police officers, and the Democrats are saying no. And in fact, I think the only reason they're saying no is because it's Mayor Ballard's idea. I think if it were someone else, they'd be for it.
Your old boss, Bart Peterson, got in trouble because of the very word taxes. Will this sell, even though it's logical, right? We all want more police, we all want to be safe, but is the word tax, does that doom something?
Well, I think, you know, there is some irony here, and this is not a judgment call on Mayor Ballard at all, because it becomes very different when you are actually sitting in that desk at the 25th floor and you're looking at the budget and how it comes together. You know, he ran on an anti-tax wave in 2007. There's no question about that. But there is the question now when you are looking at an issue, as Jennifer said, of fairness, when you are looking at how you pay for more police. You know, even by IMPD's own studies, they are down in numbers. And so they need more to fight a city, to deal with crime in a city of this size. So it can be a tricky proposition, it can, but I think that the Democrats and Republicans are going to find a way to work on it. As far as the homestead tax credit goes, I don't think it has anything to do with being against Mayor Ballard. I think they've found a lot of ways to work with him before. I just think it was because of the discussion that was had over Rebuild Indy and how you redirect those funds instead of for cricket. So.
Let me take you to the City County Council, where there was an apparent revolt in which they tried to take down the Democratic leader, Maggie Lewis. Smart move or bad move?
It was a bad move. I think hands down it was a bad move. President Lewis is a terrific leader, and it ended up being somewhat of a distraction on a night where the focus really should be on the budget process, and I think she's moving on, and I think she did. Clearly there were Republicans who, you know, didn't go along with it, including Jose Evans, one of the newest Republicans who, you know, just switched over, who was a Democrat. So you know,
Your thoughts?
unfortunately,
Well,
it's a distraction.
it was proposed by a Democrat counselor, Brian Mahern. I think it's important to recognize that. It wasn't proposed by a Republican. It was proposed by a Democrat.
Although there's a memo floating around out
highlights-
there from Republicans telling them how to go ahead and do that, but, you know, go
Well,
ahead.
it highlights, I think, that there are problems within the Democrat caucus. Do Republican,
I don't think
would
so, no.
Republican
No, I don't think
counselors
so at all.
rather have a Republican council president? Of course they would. I mean, I don't think that
But
that's...
4 Republicans didn't vote for it, so
we heard-
on a night like that, it's...
And they didn't vote for it because they didn't believe, at the end of the day, Councilor Mahern would...
Earlier in this
would support
program,
it
we
in
heard
the
from
next
the
round.
dean of the Republican congressional delegation, Marlon Stutzman, who says he believes that Hoosiers should be allowed to vote on the issue of same-sex marriage. That even though there is a Supreme Court ruling out there, he believes that Hoosiers next year should go and decide whether or not it's a good thing to change the state constitution. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I think changing the state constitution to permanently write discrimination in it is absolutely wrong. But I think that the opposition to Representative Stutzman and his folks is very strong. And judging by what even happened just this last week with the announcement of a Freedom Indiana, a very broad-based coalition that brings together Democrats, Republicans, business. I mean, it was, you know, the kickoff event was amazing, and that the strange bedfellows that were there together. So I think that that Representative Stutzman and his ilk will get a run for their money on this one.
Well, I think one of the things I want to point out is, you know, there are Democrats on both sides of this issue, and certainly there are Republicans on both sides of this issue. So it'll be interesting to see as it plays out. It first has to get voted on again by the state legislature before it would end up being a referendum on the ballot.
They're the best of the business. Thank you so much for this informative debate. You can stay up to date with our political insiders by going to our Capitol Watch blog, which you can find on our webpage, theindychannel.com. Indianapolis This Week continues right after the break. The Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce has a new leader taking over. That leader is joining us right now. Michael Huber has been named as the CEO and president of the Chamber. Huber is coming to the Chamber after working for the Indianapolis Airport Authority and previously the Deputy Mayor for Economic Development for Mayor Ballard. Good morning to you. What will be your focus as the new leader of the Chamber?
There's an economic development focus, and I know that can be a very general term, but economic development has changed so much in the last 10 or 15 years. It's still about attracting jobs and having a favorable business climate, but more and more it's about attracting talent and retaining the talent you have in your city. So part of my mission is going to be to take the Chamber platform, it's an organization that's been around for 100 years, and trying to build a bridge into these more entrepreneurial younger leaders to try to see how they can work with Chamber members to continue to create jobs in our community.
Is that becoming more difficult as we become more global? Every city has bike paths. Every city has the new condos downtown.
That's right.
So how do we distinguish ourselves from a Charlotte or a Memphis or a Louisville?
It's hard. You know, we have to build off of assets that we have. We can't necessarily go and copy another city. So you have to start with what your core industries are. There's a lot of exciting activity happening in biosciences right now. It's a statewide initiative. There's a lot of exciting activity happening in information technology with these great iPhone and iPad developers that are popping up everywhere in our city. So we want to try to corral those efforts and show them that the Chamber members, we have a few thousand members, what they have to offer those entrepreneurs, but also we think the Chamber would benefit from having a lot more of these young emerging leaders in its community.
One of the top priorities for the Chamber has been education, working with the area superintendents of the school districts. IPS has a new superintendent starting next month. Will you be meeting with him and working with the other superintendents to forge some sort of education component?
Absolutely. So anytime I think you have new leadership, it's an opportunity to start fresh, and so I definitely look forward to meeting the new superintendent. My wife and I are trying to raise 2 kids in an IPS district, so in downtown, so you know we have a personal stake in that as well. There's already a lot of great dialogue happening between Chamber members and IPS on things like financial and operational issues, so we'll try to continue that work.
And the key thing, this is the workforce, right? So whether it's IPS or Perry Township or Warren or
Absolutely.
Pike, it is in your best interest to forge that relationship.
Absolutely. You know, there's back when I worked for the city, the mayor sometimes would say, he'd say, I go to businesses and they say I'm having trouble finding good workers, and then I go to the neighborhoods and they say I'm having trouble finding a job. So there's a gap there that needs to be addressed. There's some groundbreaking work taking place right now in Employ Indy, which is the local workforce board, but I think we could do a lot more, and I think we've got expertise within the Chamber to help us fill that gap that exists.
Do you see any challenges moving forward?
A lot. You know, I think governments everywhere have got fiscal challenges that they're trying to solve. In Indianapolis, we've got our own fiscal challenges. We're not unique among other cities, but the chamber's got financial expertise. It's got business expertise. We need to do more to bring some of our members to bear in almost like a think tank to help elected officials understand all the options available to them, help them with those hard choices. So I think we could just be a stronger voice, but also in offering support with our expertise to public officials.
Michael Huber, CEO and President of the Indianapolis Chamber. Come back again, would you?
Thanks, Raphael. Appreciate it.
Plenty of time to talk about all kinds of business.
Absolutely.
You're going to come back?
Absolutely.
He's going to come back.
Thank you.
After the break, a soldier returns home. It was the final chapter in a long journey to bring the remains of a lost soldier back to his family. The body of a World War II veteran missing for 70 years is back home. On Friday, this was the scene at Indianapolis International Airport. The casket of Manly Forrest Winkley rolled off slowly a commercial flight greeted by members of the military. Winkley died in 1943 fighting on the island of Tarawa. His body was buried, but it was moved and authorities then lost track of it. Last year, an islander found the remains, and through dental records, experts confirmed it was Winkley. He was buried next to a family member in Madison, Indiana, yesterday. That's it for this edition of Indianapolis This Week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Remember, we are always on with the RTV6 app and on our website, theindychannel.com. Have a great Sunday.